Hi, welcome back to Walk, Run, Soar. It is day 22. This is part 2, second video for today. It's number 29 in the book, and it's, of course, a really good one for me. Battling fear on the course. Fear, my least favorite four-letter word. All right, our verses are from 2 Timothy chapter 1, verses 6 and 7. This is in verse 7 is a really good one that I'm constantly telling myself. Therefore, I remind you to keep ablaze the gift of God that is in you through the laying on of my hands. For God has not given us a spirit of fearfulness, but one of power, love, and sound judgment. All right, so she starts off telling the story. When she had gone for a run, she was greeted with, and it was obviously early, she was greeted by fog, and it was a very thick fog to where she can only see a few steps in front of her. And she talks about how her mind began to race with the fear of the unknown. Out. You're fine. Trying to stop him before he has a major bark out. You're good. He's a good boy. Okay. And I actually had to go back and look to see when this book was written. And it says it came out in 2020. I'm not sure when it came out in 2020. Because she talks about how she was battling with fear these last few weeks. And I don't know if she's talking about COVID, but she talks about how her mind kept returning to fears of my kids getting deathly sick, school shootings, or another cancer diagnosis for a loved one, and how they just kept building and building. And even in her running life, getting injured, getting sick, or not having enough stamina to get to the finish line. And then there's fear of failure, rejection, and shame. And then she also says that sometimes she sits with fear of what happens if she steps out of obedience to where God is leading her. And then, just like me, it says that she can worry so much that it'll make herself sick and with anxiety if she focuses on it too much. And she warns that if we succumb to that, it keeps us from stepping into God's calling for us. And there's an abundance of blessings that we'll miss if that happens. So she talks about that verse and how, the key phrase for me is that God has not given us a spirit of fearfulness, meaning that fear is not ever something that comes from God's doing. He doesn't want us to be fearful of anything. She talks about how she was afraid of the dark when she was younger, and her mom had her memorize that verse, the verse 7, where it's not a spirit of fearfulness that God gives us, and would have her repeat it whenever she was afraid of the dark at night. So that's a key thing. I'm terrible at memorizing verses, but it goes back to where, she's mentioned it before, and I have too. Have them readily visible in very specific places. Like, if you have a child that's scared of the dark, take that verse, put it on their nightstand so that they can read it, type thing. And same for us. Any verses that help us deal with things that we might be struggling with, put them where you need them. Bathroom, nightstand, in the kitchen. And you have it right there in front of your face, the truth that comes from God's word. So she says, when you're running through the fog of life, shift your perspective. That's good. And determined to put your eyes on what is right in front of you instead of on the fog much farther down the road. Hey, I've said that before. You can't do anything about what's going to happen in the future, really. You can only do anything about what you're in right at this moment. And if you keep your eyes fixed on where they need to be fixed, it makes things less scary. So her faith step is to write down 3 fears you might be facing in your everyday life or your training, and then on that same paper, cross them out and write God's truth. I think there was a similar activity on another devotion, or maybe it was just a suggestion to have what you're afraid, have God's truth that negates that fear. Our inspirational quote is from Shelley Ann Fraser-Price, Jamaican Olympic gold medalist sprinter. She says, I never pray to God to help me win. I pray to be ready, healthy, and give my best. I pray against fear because fear kills promise. Fear makes you focus on the other athletes, not yourself. Fear makes you want the bathroom, makes your head hurt. That's good. That's really good. I think, I can't remember if I've talked about it in this devotion or just any other videos. It may have been a devotion, but I've really gotten into visualizing, because I used to get, just excited and nervous, and it would make my stomach hurt before a race. And I'm not that fast. It's not like I'm actually really competing or anything, but I would just, I would have set a goal for just myself and then be afraid that I wasn't going to achieve it, and I knew I'd be disappointed, and then all these feelings. So I've gotten to where, like, I'll be at home or I'll be out for a run, just training run or whatever, but I'll practice closing my eyes and putting myself in that position and feeling that anxious, nervous, and then work on channeling it into excitement and love of what I'm doing. And so when I actually get to a race and actually get to that starting line, I've trained myself on what to do with that nervousness, to change it, change your perspective, and just be excited about what you're getting to do. So visualization is awesome. And actually, this is similar to a training note from Coach Sean. He says, before each race, if you're able to, preview the course by running it beforehand, paying attention to turns and hills. It does really help when you've seen the course, and even better, been on the course, you know what I'm saying? Also make note of any camber in the road, potholes, and areas of shade, so know what to expect. So all of that really helps. Sometimes you can't do that, but you can at least, at the very least, a lot of times see the course map, and maybe even elevation, which is awesome. So 2 good ones for today. We love weekends here, love Saturday. We got beautiful weather here, even though it's gonna get cold again for just a couple of days. But then maybe the coldness will finally have gone away and we'll have our beautiful, beautiful spring days. It's really just the wind that gets me. I know I said that I was gonna run outside today, and I really want to if it warms up enough that the wind's not gonna bother me. So, yes. But I hope everyone is doing well. Tomorrow, the last of my Princess Weekend videos is going to come out. It's my Magic Kingdom day where I use Genie Plus, so be sure to check that out. I'm really excited. And then finally, after that, I'll actually have to start making Sunday videos again. So it'll just be life updates. And we got spring break coming up, so I'm really excited about that. So I hope everyone's well, and I will see you on Monday for the next Walk, Run, Soar.